On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, we've got fake woo-woo crap.
And real woo-woo crap. Let's do this. It was the only color they had in the shirt, but it was a shirt that was made for women. So, welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast.
I'm Diana.
And I'm Liz, just throwing her off her game. This week, what are we talking about?
Season 7, Episode 7, The Mentalists.
And that feels kind of, like a number thing, like numerology, like it's season 7, Episode 7.
Yeah. Isn't that like a thing?
I mean, I've got a lot of 7s in my numerology, so you figure them out, you can hack my identity. I think, cool. Yeah, I think that's how that works. That's how it was just because if I told you, that's what would happen. So
totally.
So, if you're watching this on some YouTube thing that ever gets published, Diana is wearing a leopard print shirt. So, what's up with you, leopard print shirt, Diana?
Oh, I just, had a wonderful morning where you're in a hurry in the morning and you spill coffee all over yourself and you're annoyed for a minute and then you realize you're wearing leopard print. So it doesn't matter because no one can tell. Woo! Boom. Leopard print to save the day.
That's right. Leopard print, fuck the world. I think it's just a theme that we should have every once in a while.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
So it's still hot as balls.
It's cooled down a little.
I was
it was not triple digits. It was not triple digits.
Oh, it's triple digits here. That didn't we just weren't above the triple. I still think it was 101 today. We actually got some rain here yesterday, I think, which was great. Yeah. As I say this, as I'm worried about my friends in Florida who are getting too much rain. I was
too much rain.
they're too much rain. I'm not enough rain. So that's our weather report for this August.
There you go. Ta-da!
Ta-da! Who needs a weather channel? This was so much weather. Weather.
It's happening all around us.
It does, but
weather.
This weekend I continued checking out the gyms in my area that you can go hang from hoops at. And so I finally went to the third one. And I think I just got very spoiled in Austin, and it was kind of a sad thing of shifting a place where you start off with a hobby and you start off with a really great thing, and then none of the places here are bad. I just got spoiled like a motherfucker, right? And so once again, I had a class where there were two people who were in the adult class who were in teenage women, young women, girls, whatever. But one of them was very short, and that made me excited because I was like, "Yay, another short girl!" That's so cool. But middle-aged bodies and teenage bodies, when you're doing things on circus apparatuses, we all function differently, right? So
that's reasonable. It's
reasonable, and kind of going to give you a complex if you're just hey, okay, I'm going to do this, and then watch the 16-year-old version of yourself, and then it's kind of nice. You're aw, why didn't I have this when I was 16? That would have been very sweet, but I didn't. So, but then I was kind of went through this this crisis of. So here's the thing: if you exercise in your middle age times, after you exercise, you hurt a lot. And if you're doing this on things which are inherently made to hurt you more, banging yourself on a giant hoop of steel, you kind of lay there and you're why? Is it worth it? And then I looked at this, I got an article for Pink, and Pink is doing all this shit, and she's 2 years younger than me. And I was like, well, Pink can do this. I can do this. But then I was also like, Pink used to be a gymnast. So basically, I'm going through like a crisis of going, is it worth like pounding? Like, I don't know. How
is it worth pounding?
Is it worth pounding myself? And can you recover from it, like in a definitely a middle-aged body? Like, well, the whole idea was this is like, I get through this, and then at my 50th birthday, I have, instead of a quinceañera, like Diana wanted to have the thing that we still haven't done for her, which is like her party with like the big. We just want to do things with poofy dresses, and so I went on my 50th birthday. I went to the poofy dress and a hoop, right? And technically, I could probably do it now and be fine. But, like, I would like to do it well.
Have a theme.
But, like, if I'm, like, just, like, kind of, like, crippled, like, afterwards, like...
Is it worth it?
It's like, can't I just, like, start eating cake now, like, and just prepare that for our 50th? Like, maybe I'll just make a...
Maybe just sit in the hoop in a fancy dress and eat cake. I mean...
I don't have to train for 3 years to do that.
I mean, it's a backup plan. It's a backup plan. Not plan A.
Yeah, so that's what's going on with me. Just those very in-depth life questions. And thinking about which is really sad, also thinking about, like, how my 50th birthday, like, I'm sure, like, if I listen to this, my 50th birthday, I'd be kicking myself, but it's not that far off, right? Like, it's life, man. Just thinking about it. So what's going on with you, Diana?
Just keeping busy with work, and we've been. I feel like I've been super busy. I was down in Houston for a little bit last week, and it was humid. In case you were wondering,
what? Oh my God! So
there's some weather. I had to type back in the weather for you.
Weather report.
Weather.
The fact that you went to Houston and it was gross. The fact that, like, you should get paid more for going to Houston in August. Like, I feel like that.
It was. I had to. It was an important trip, and it was a good trip.
I feel like Houston should give you money as you cross the border.
The city of
instead of like you paying a toll, like, to get into this, like, to get out of this.
It's an opposite.
The opposite, just like, here's 10 cents for coming into Houston and dealing with our humidity.
Yeah, but then Babe and I got out for a little bit this weekend. We had grandiose plans, and then we decided him and I did a little bop around town, and ended up just popped to a couple of our favorite bars in Deep Ellum, and then went over to a bar we had not been to that we had heard great things about in our neighborhood, and it is called Barbara's Pavilion. I say our neighborhood, the side of town that we're on, and it is pretty amazing. And you will have to go when you visit.
I just said yours like there's a bar. I'm like, cool. All right, let's go.
Well, it's in our neighborhood. Well, I say in our neighborhood. It's close by, and it is super, like, cute, kitschy, and has just a super diverse crowd there, and they are known for their karaoke.
All these things I love. I do love that.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's, like, about it, I guess, in my world. I feel like we're going into a holiday weekend, and I don't have much going on. I'm kind of glad. It's kind of cool. Like, I don't know, float in the pool. Yeah, sounds nice.
I'm pretty excited because I realized that I'm going to a concert, and then I was like, but I don't know. I can never say that I'm going to be off, so I just really don't want to jinx it. But it's possible that I may have, like, multiple days off next week, and that's very exciting.
That is exciting.
Because I'm very tired, and I would like to have some days off, like, just like a day off. That'd be cool. Like. But anyways, are we ready to talk about this very, very exciting episode? Because
I feel like you are ready. I knew you would be as soon as I watched this.
Well, I think you knew before you watched this, because this was one of those. I'm like, have you watched it yet? Have you, like, there's a little puppy dog that I should have, like, puppy. Have you watched this episode yet? Did you watch it?
Yeah. And then it opens. Well, first,
Okay,
I will
well,
say,
first let me get into the
go for it.
background.
Okay, give me your
She's
background.
like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, there's a thing.
I'm ready. Let's roll
There's
in.
a thing we do. Okay, so this is called The Mentalists, and this was season 7, episode 7, and we've already said like good luck things, just kind of running around, but you think it works because of this episode. I'm just gonna switch into this weird like New Jersey accent for it, and we're just gonna roll with it. Okay, so this first aired November 4th, 2011, and it was directed by our favorite Princess Switch director, Mike Roll, who we haven't seen since season 6, episode 16, and then there were none. But in between that, we have not talked about one of the rom-coms that he's directed. So the movie was called I'm not sure this is actually the title of the movie. This is the title of the byline. Chloe Bennett gets married by mistake to the wrong brother, ? So, okay, the name of the movie is Married by Mistake. Okay, which is a terrible intro, but sorry. All right, so this was the Network E made this rom-com. So
Ooh. Yeah.
And so it stars Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. vet Chloe Bennett, and they say that it's definitely not a Hallmark Channel movie. For starters, Bennett's character Riley wakes up in bed with a man. And from there, things get spicier with talks of sex and orgasms, ! Like we said, we're definitely not in Hallmark's wholesome Kansas anymore. What follows is a series of delightful and classic rom-com tropes, including marriage and convenience with awkward kissing and a love triangle involving 2 brothers. Is that not the most awkward copy you've ever fucking heard?
It's very awkward copy.
The fucking like E !
Wow.
Okay, yeah, so that happened.
Huh.
But I mean, I kind of want to see the movie, but like,
I mean, yeah, it sounds like a slutty Hallmark movie, and I'm in.
Yeah, I also like.
I love a Hallmark, but like, why not?
Can I get some slutty Hallmark movies? Like, I would actually promote this. Let's go with that this Christmas, like Horrors of Hallmark or something. Just let's go. That would be great.
No, you don't need to go that far. You just got to get a little spicier.
Like Cinemax, like. No,
not that kind of spicy. No.
Okay, whatever, fine. All right. So this was written by there was a duo. I do love a duo. Like, and I also just don't understand how these writing teams work. It just seems like, I don't know, it seems like a pain in the ass. But anyway, so this was written by the writer team.
It's a group project.
Yes, exactly. I guess maybe they had better group projects than I did in all of my years of schooling.
I'm sure they have a system. There's a lot of writers that write together. I'm sure
it's great to have somebody to bounce stuff off of. But all right, so this was written by Ben Acker and Ben Blacker. What? Those are their names. Okay, so this is the first time that they've come into our writing world of Supernatural. Spoiler, it's the only time. But so really what they do besides this, they also write The Thrilling Adventure, which was like a podcast before there was a podcast, I guess, right? Huh. And so now that so they've just basically had a lot of people that have been on that, and like Jim Beaver was on that before he was on here or something crap like that. Cool. So you're just like, how is this? Just like, crap like that. And so at this point, though, they're doing a podcast in the style of that, and so they're anthologizing the thrilling adventures of space cowboy Sparks Nevada, played by Mark Evan Jackson, who married mediums Frank and Sadie Doyle, played by Paula Tompkins, who's in everything, and Paget Brewster, and All-American hero Jefferson Reed, Nathan Fillion. So we got Nathan Fillion, who's also in everything. Yay, Nathan Fillion. But I just think it's interesting that their radio show is about 2 mediums, and this is The Mentalists. And so you can listen to that. It's hosted on Acast, and you find it wherever you listen to your podcast, blah, blah, blah. But I just thought the medium tie-in was cool. So, because, why do I find that's cool? Because we open with what was opening? Like, as soon as, like, the first scene, you were just like...
I was like, oh, geez, yeah. Here we go. We've got a medium with a Ouija board hosting... Yeah, whatever.
You can call it a talking board. You can call it a spirit board. You can also Ouija. This technically was not made by Parker Rousseau. Whatever. So I'll shut up.
So it's a talking board with our medium and a couple, and they're trying to call Uncle Danny. That's the long and the short of it. And the planchette is moving, but out of this couple, the woman's like, I want to ask Danny all the questions. I'm excited. Danny's here. Yay, let's talk because there's a breeze. And the dude's like, this is bullshit. She's moving it, but whatever. I really just want the papers that were supposed to be in the safe, but they weren't there. And that has to do with my inheritance. So what the fuck, Danny?
I love how this dude is such a skeptic, except for the fact when it comes to his money.
So as the man keeps asking about insisting that he wants to know where the money is, we see that things get weird. There's the fire flares up in the fireplace, the light bulbs burst, and then the planchette starts to move more on its own, and we see cold breath, which we all know by now is a sign of ghosts or spirits around. And then the planchette hovers in midair, and then it flies and stabs the medium straight in the fucking throat.
It's amazing. It's so great. I just love this idea of this death. I think
wild.
It's wild, but it's good writing. It's just it's interesting and so good. And I'm sure this is in a bunch of horror movies. But it's so. I love it. I love a medium being stabbed in the throat. I just think
with a planchette.
It was just that's the spicy. It is.
So our next scene, we've got Dean. He's got a bag of barbecue from the Rib Shack
and a Slim Jim. Step into a Slim Jim.
And he's bummed that he has no messages from Sam. And then he stops at a early 70s blue Dodge Challenger and proceeds to use the Slim Jim to break into it.
And he's just very disrespectful to this car. He's offended because it's full of fast food, but he's just going to put his own fast food in there. He starts ripping down the fuzzy dice and just fuck you.
Well, he's hot wiring it. Yeah, it's rude.
It's just rude. You're stealing this car and
and insulting it.
You're just insulting. To me, I don't feel like this is a car you steal. I think this is a rude car to steal. I get that it's an easy car to steal, but it's a rude car to steal.
Is it though?
They had fuzzy dice. They put fuzzy dice and they left their car. Okay,
so he hears the radio DJ, who's it's a real over the top annoying
Bananas Fosters.
Bananas talking about news of the weird about deaths in Lilydale, the most psychic town in America. So obviously Dean's gonna go to Lilydale.
Damn right he is. I was going to
Duh. And so he shows up at the murder site of our medium.
And it's still very much an active crime scene. So again,
he got there real fast.
Well, and supernatural timing here again. Would that have been on the radio and have still been an active crime scene? Or would he have gone to a different, did he just find the new crime scene that went down?
Yeah. No, this is definitely not a timeline that matches. But he is poking around, and what he finds are all things that I don't want to use the word fraud.
Embellisher.
Let's use the word.
An
embellisher.
An embellisher. That is the word they use, and we all love an embellisher. So things that an embellisher could use to make your experience talking to the other side better. So you could have a tape recorder which plays rustling noises. You could have a lever on the floor that moves other things around. You could have a switch that makes a chair. You could have things that make the curtains move.
Mm-hmm. And he finds all of that. So, and as he goes outside and he's walking down the street in this town, so he knows that this medium may or may not have been actually psychic or utilizing these embellishments to give an experience. But as he's walking down the street, he sees it's just a row after row of psychic reading signs and all these people getting psychic readings on the street. It's pretty funny.
If I could just play this over and over again, and like if I could walk outside and just see this, like it's just so it's just my happy place. This episode is very much my happy place.
You're right. Can I just live in Lilydale? And there's a sign for the annual Lilydale Psychic Festival, with 3 specific psychics pictured and noted on it. We've got you got something?
I know, just waiting for you the list.
Okay. Imelda Graven and her crystal ball, Grandma Goldie and talking board, and who is our recent victim, by the way. We recognize her picture. And Nikolai Lishin, kinetic mind.
Yeah, and the thing is, what? Okay, so you've got this, or this is very interesting. And it also also advertises that there will be psychic and tarot reading, palmistry, and horoscope. Whatever, shut up and take my money.
So Dean goes into this restaurant this sign was in front of. It's the Good Graces Cafe, and their special of the day is you.
It's you.
Oh my God, I'd be so annoyed at this place.
And the soup of the day is a state of bliss. Because like, oh shit, like everything, there's going to be no cheese here. It's just going to be like vegan cheese.
So apparently you also get a free affirmation with every order.
You do. And Dean is not down with this. And he decides he's going to go for tacos, which I applaud this choice, but
Sam's there working the case.
Oh, God damn it. So yep, he just like walks over to Sam.
Plops down.
So Sam is also suited up. And I would like to point out once again that when Sam left with a backpack. He
had a backpack and he walked off a pier.
Yes. He walked into a lake, not this lake, but a different lake, but with his backpack. And so how would he fit that giant ass suit in that tiny ass backpack? Like, so he
probably just did some more credit card fraud and bought a new one.
Well, we've learned in the last episode that they're not good at credit card fraud and they had to start over. So, like, how did he have the time to go get another? Which also points into other things that happen in this about, other criminal shit. But I just want to point out, where does Sam get the suit?
So, Dean just basically starts talking to Sam like they're working the case. And Sam is just not engaging.
He's trying so hard. Just so hard.
He's just like, I
don't want to deal with you. I don't want to deal with you. If I just shut up and ignore you, will you just go away?
And Dean does finally order his food from our waiter that shows up. And the waiter takes his order and then calls him a virile manifestation of the divine.
That is the best affirmation. And God damn it, like if there was a restaurant in my town that offered me an affirmation like this, like every time, yes, shut up and take my money.
So finally Sam tries to talk to Dean, but then Dean just starts cutting him off. Now that Sam actually wants to respond, Dean's just like too busy cutting him off. And finally, is like his whole thing is basically he's just saying they just need to work the case together because they're both there. Neither of them are going to leave until it's solved, and they work together well. They know this. They might as well just fucking do it together, and they don't have to talk about the bullshit, which we all know doesn't work. But okay, nice try. What's hilarious is when this woman walks in and freaks the fuck out. Because guess what she's looking at that we're now realizing as the audience that no one has noticed is that, the guys that were on the news like 2 weeks ago murdering a shit ton of people and are supposed to be dead are now sitting together in a restaurant.
No, that was not us. That's our doppelgangers. We're not them. We're fine. They're dead. You saw the one where they died? Yeah, that happened. Yeah. We're cool. But
I feel like it was a weird choice to not like do any sort of like, I don't know, like dye your hair. Like, you don't have to go extreme here. Just like a tweak. Just a tweak. Get a haircut.
But I think this kind of also falls on, like, if you're hot, you can get away with anything. And so they're just like, we're fine. And she is like, oh, yes, Mr. Hot Boys, your energy looks your energy is harmless. I can tell, unless you don't want to be harmless with me. But then, then her man who has the world's worst Russian accent.
It's not that bad.
It's bad. It is super bad.
He's actually from USSR Ukraine.
Oh shit.
Actor.
Okay.
So that's what I was going to tell you. It's like, no,
it's not bad. I don't know. It sounds bad.
It's very extreme. He does exaggerate.
It's very
obviously.
exaggerated.
But he's like, oh yeah, these guys are totally FBI. I'm from Russia, so I can tell, which I think is really funny. I'm like, okay, all right, dude. I don't know how that like tracks, but we'll go with that.
My notes say not quickly enough to keep you from getting thrown out a window.
Oh. Well, he informs them that he's not only the kinetic mind, but he's also a spoon bender. Ooh.
Well, we all love a spoon bender. He can teach you to harness the power of your mind.
To bend a spoon with your mind. So finally, Sam's like, they leave, and Sam's like, all right, let's share these notes. Okay, Imelda died first. She got brained by her own crystal ball.
Okay, they're not just...
That's new info to us. That
is new info, but also I would like to point out that he has got the clipboardy file thing, which I really highly enjoy, and I don't get to employ enough in my life. You know, we have Brad across the top, and then like the photos are just like through there. So like one side was Imelda, and the other side was Goldie, whatever the fuck her name is. But they're just like, I really appreciate the folder.
There's those folders every day. The folders with the Brads at the top. Yeah.
You get those every day. That's so sexy.
Your job. We have color. I have color coded ones. I'm just saying.
That's so hot.
A lot. I'm not impressed with them. That's why I was like, wait, what? What are you talking about? But I thought they were really cool when I first started using them, if that helps.
That is really helpful. Like, you know my job. I don't get to, we don't send,
we don't have a lot of physical paperwork.
We don't send each other a lot of files.
No.
But we do.
So Imelda gets brained by her own crystal ball. Okay, that was the first name we saw on that poster.
And also the use of the word brained. I appreciated that.
I like that. Yeah. Then the next victim was Goldie. And when they show a picture of both of them, and they were wearing the same necklace in their photos at their deaths. So that's bad. That's a bad sign. And apparently the necklace was given to Goldie in Imelda's will. So as they've got to figure out this necklace situation. And Sam goes to pour sugar in his coffee, and suddenly his spoon bends. What? The spoon bender strikes. All right, so they're going to go talk to Melanie Golden, excuse me.
Goldie.
And she is the granddaughter of Grandma Goldie. And they're going to talk about Grandma Goldie and why she might have gotten killed. So they find out that Melanie is also in the biz.
She works the medium circuit. But Dean's just like, you don't look like a psychic. And she's just like, basically comes down to, I'm not. And then when she says that it's an honest living, he gets so super judgy about her definition of honest. And I'm just like, okay, agent.
Says who, agent? Exactly. And she's like, yeah, it's all about reading body language, less woo-woo, you know. I just read people. And she's like, yeah, so y'all have been partners for a long time, a lot of tension. Sam's pissed, Dean's stressed. Boom. Okay, yes, ma'am. Listening, yeah, I appreciate this.
But like her grandmother though, like she actually Goldie the grandma actually believed in the stuff, right?
Yeah, all of it, smoke machine and all. She was all into it. But Melanie doesn't believe in this in it either at all. Interestingly, Dean pops off with, really, he's surprised that she doesn't, and that he clarifies that he has an open mind.
Weird.
And apparently everything of Goldie's went to the Emporium because Goldie had a deal with the owner.
This is weird. Okay, but whatever. Yeah. So that happens. But we cut to an overloaded store, which was an actual pawn shop that they filmed at. They didn't have to actually make that many different like changes to it, which I do think is a cool thing. I'm just like, I appreciate a store full of crap.
Well, Jimmy Tomorrow is the proprietor at the counter and guesses that Sam and Dean are looking for something. Well, no shit. What the fuck do you think they're there for?
Why
Anyways.
else are you in a store? But okay.
So Sam's got a picture of the necklace, and Jimmy gives it some name, the Orb of Thessaly.
Okay, and so this is where if you are a total fucking nerd, you die, because the Orb of Thessaly is what Angel's soul and Buffy was stored in.
What? Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's, and the pronunciation kind of changes. Like they say, or like is Orbithes, sometimes it's Orbithessel, sometimes it's Orbithessely, but you can't say it without sounding like you have a lisp.
That's hilarious. I appreciate that. Well, so he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go get it. I'm sure it's super in there. He's like, yeah, it's very expensive. And they flash their FBI badges, so they want the state's evident discount.
But they don't have a chain of custody document. Where is your chain of custody? You can't just like go in and like take a fucking necklace. Like that's a legal search and seizure. Like, sorry, but okay. But so Jimmy also pulls out just like, Sam, I read your energy. And he's like, holding on to a loss. And he hands him a card.
His business card.
And his business card says,
no future too grim.
Ah.
Like, damn, Jimmy's dark.
And his name is Jimmy Tomorrow.
Ugh. Yeah. So Sam and Dean leave because they are not impressed with Jimmy. And I'm annoyed because they're carrying this necklace loosely instead of the box that the necklace was in. Which I'm just saying that's a Harry Potter lesson, number one. That's how you get cursed. And number two, it just seems very impractical. Why would you not leave it in the box?
It's impractical. You're violating, like, there's so many things that are going wrong. Like, I don't like, so if this was evidence, you're not handling your evidence correctly. But even if it's not, if it's magical, you're not, like, you just, like, what, you just, like, jacking off, like, this, like, cursed object?
Well, it doesn't matter because apparently it's just some crap made in Taiwan, and they throw it away.
But then I'm just like, did Sam know this? Like when he picked it up, and that's why he was violating all the magical rules? I don't know. But we cut to good old Nikolai, our favorite Russian medium and spoonbender, and he has
drinking a beer.
And he has a bunch of silverware.
It looks like he jacked it all from the restaurant, by the way.
I do. I kind of, I like enjoy this. Like, I'm just like stealing shit from this restaurant. But the poor restaurant then is losing.
It was a lot. It was a lot of silverware, so I doubt it was stolen, but it was just funny. So he's looking at, he's examining a fork. He bends it with his hand, and he's trying to he's practicing bending shit. But basically, something starts bending on its own, and he is kind of freaked out. And what would really freak me out, too, is when all of the silverware laid out on the table suddenly stands upright. Ah!
It does. And but then also, like, if you automatically are going to light as a feather, stiff as a board, like, of your own accord.
Ugh, he's lifting him off the floor. He's hovering over the silverware, and you're just like, you know. The second he starts hovering and the silverware is standing upright, you're like, oh, fuck, I know what's going down. I know it. He's going to get dropped on the silverware. It's going to be messy. But luckily, our director or writer or whoever made this props decision did make sure that this coffee table was glass. So when the spirits did drop good old Nikolai onto the upright silverware, we got a lovely shot from underneath.
Yeah, it's convenient. But also, I'd like to point out that at least there was one spoon on there. So besides like him dropping on forks and knives, he also dropped on a spoon. That's harder. So.
Yeah. So next morning, we've got Sam and Dean pretending to be FBI again. And Sam had obviously already met the police chief, but introduces Dean as Agent Bourne. And basically the chief's just like, this is a weird one, but whatever. Got a chest full of cutlery. And he's got a bunch of leads, though, which is interesting. We're like, oh, the brothers are like, Sam and Dean are like, oh, shit, you got leads? That's amazing. He's like, yes, I have 46 calls. They're all clairvoyants who know what really happened. The most popular theories, it's a toss-up between a ghost and an ogre who only attacks Russians.
And one of them was told by their spirit monkey. They have a spirit monkey. Where is my spirit monkey? Is a spirit monkey an asshole? I don't know. Like, is he just like stealing shit out of your pockets? Is it a nice spirit monkey? Poop? I don't know. I need to know more about the spirit monkey, but we don't ever heard anything else about it. So sad.
That's all we hear about the spirit monkey. Yeah. So Sam's like, so why these theories? And they figure out that the victim had a vision. Some of the victims had visions of their own deaths. And they get interrupted, though, because Melanie Goldie calls Dean. And like, hey, did you really mean what you said about being open-minded? And he's like, okay. So she tells him she's got a voicemail on her landline from Grandma Goldie, who had a vision of her own death. Oh, that's interesting. So Sam and Dean go talk to her, and she's like, yeah. So she saw the seance, the light, the cold air, and Sam's like, yeah, you can stop there. Dean's like, yeah, obviously this is a real ghost. Duh. And now they have to convince the medium, Melanie, who's not really medium, that it's actually a ghost. It's kind of funny. Yeah. He's like, yeah, there's fake woo-woo crap and real woo-woo crap.
And I feel like we don't use the word woo-woo enough anymore, and I like it. And so I say bring woo-woo back. So they explain that they are not FBI agents, and she needs a drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so does Dean.
Well, I like Dean's just like, I support this. And like, yes, we have discussed your alcoholism in many, many episodes. And then they just start discussing about how the spirit is moving all around time.
Right. And so as Sam and Dean leave, and they're like, yeah, the ghost is not tied to a house. And it's, it's not surprising with so many psychics in this town, though, because they make a joke that crystal balls are like ghost satellite dishes. And they're like, but there might actually be some real psychics. And that just makes things more complicated. You can't discount all of them. So Dean is just extremely annoyed with this town in general. And Sam's like, that's fine. We're going to split up anyways.
Yep.
So they split up.
And so Dean is like in that part of like a fight of a friendship where he thinks everything is fine and the other person knows that you have not worked through your crap yet. And so I don't want to be around you. And Sam wants to go off on his own.
Yeah, pretty much. So we've got, and Dean's not even like thinks that things are okay. He thinks he can just pretend things are okay and they will be. But we've got another medium, and she has an exaggerated.
Yeah, we can say someone we met earlier. She's like another medium, but it's a girl we met earlier.
She was leaving Melanie's house earlier. So it's Melanie's friend who is also a medium, and she is using a slightly exaggerated accent from what we heard before when she was saying bye to her friend.
Yeah, she sounds very different. She's not the same.
She's a little leaning into a Miss Cleo. Yeah. Leaning into a Miss Cleo for sure. And her style of readings is by bones.
Throwing them bones.
Throwing bones. And the woman, her client, is asking her if if her brother's going to go back to prison. Ruh-roh. And our medium basically just says that the curse is going to drag her down, and some people turn jail into a habit. Ooh.
Yep. And so family is a pain in the ass anyhow, which I need to put on a pillow. And really, what is happening was what happens during, I'm sure, a lot of conversations between mediums, psychics, whoever you call on your 977 number to get advice about your life. And you're just like, hey, I want to know about my bro. I think he may be going back to jail. And the medium looks at you and goes, yeah, your bro's really going back to jail and he's going to drag your ass in. Get the fuck away from your brother who's going back to prison again.
Yeah.
But she also it inevitably goes into the place where a lot of these conversations end, which is cash or credit.
Mm-hmm. And she's introduced as Sister Thibodeau by here as well.
Which could be a reference to many things. So the main thing I kind of got down to was that there is the Devil's Swamp in Thibodeau that's haunted by the ghosts of buried slaves from Acadia Plantation, as well as those people murdered or killed on railroad tracks that cross the dusty road near Shriver. And if you park over those railroad tracks, you get handprints on your car, just like you do like in the railroad tracks here. I'm glad that the phenomenon carries
Creepy.
everywhere. But Thibodeau is just like kind of like, isn't like kind of a Cajun term, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely has a Cajun tone to it. Mm-hmm. So as she's counting her cash after her client leaves, she gets a vision. Her eyes turn white, their fire flares up, and she sees the clock. She sees herself getting choked out, and then
and she's just freaked out about this vision, right?
Rightfully so.
Yeah, as you should be.
Yeah. So Dean
is looking around the house, and he's just like, oh.
He's there, because Dean and Melanie are there. Mel had called ahead, and Sister Thibodeau, a.k.a. Camille, is also her name, is like, it's like, oh, so it's a phony lawman after he's kind of talking.
Well, yeah, and so, but also feel like, okay, like we're just gonna dust things down. Like, okay, like you're not a real guy. Like, I'm not a real psychic. And Dean's just like, what the fuck is this camera?
Yeah. So he notices that there is a camera in her room, which I guess is pretty smart if you're like a client, like having one-on-one clients like that.
And you can find one of those on Amazon for like $200 now. Like, there are things that you can buy that you can just like put, like, basically do like bugs. You do bug sniffers to see if there's a camera that's hanging out in your room and watching you. So if he'd had that, he could have found that. But they do decide that, hey, we can see this. And apparently back in 2000, whatever this was, that footage didn't roll over, and you could review it and see a ghost on it.
Yes. So it takes a couple tries, but they're able to see a woman in a dress, an actual bona fide ghost, come up behind Camille and help and force this vision on her, basically. And he's like, but as Dean points out, no one's having psychic visions. The spirit is giving them out and then killing people. So now they also point out, though, that her vision showed clock was at 2 a.m. So now they've got some time before she's going to get killed by the ghost. And Melanie's like, hey, I recognize that ghost. Let's go to the museum. So off to the Lilydale Museum of Curiosities. So Sam and Dean have to make a field trip.
Yep, shut up and take my money. And in there is this guy, and he's giving a tour. And I keep like wanting to call him a butler, an undertaker. Like, there are just like so many like people of Scooby-Doo like that he could be. A docent. Like, they're just like all these things that this person could be.
Well, he used to discuss telling his tour group, he has a tour group with them, Sam and Dean are not part of it, they're just kind of like on the periphery, about how Lilydale is a haven of psychics and a history of embellishers. And that's showing like displays of some of like the ectoplasm illusions and things that were used to fake some of these kind of things in the past.
And I think I told you before that the ectoplasm illusion was often just like the snail trail that came out of women's vagina. So that makes me very excited that there is an ectoplasm illusion.
It looks very large, just saying.
Well, that was not that. That was like some like paper.
Where they used like linen and paper mache and stuff like that. But yeah.
But also, okay, so one that just makes me excited. But also, I think it's very like when he talks about mediums who like embellished their craft, like they're like, and he's saying it with love. It's just like whatever, like, so maybe we're not psychic. Maybe sometimes like we embellished.
Well, Sam and Dean heard this, and then they wander off on their own to go look. And there are a lot of pictures on the walls of different psychics, mediums, and whoever from this town. There are. They are intrigued at one point when they stop at the Campbell Brothers. Oh, that's a family name.
Yes. She's Dinah's like, what the fuck is happening? Okay, so go on.
But apparently the docent tells them, he's like, yeah, it never really ended well for the siblings, except for the Campbells, but they weren't actually brothers. And basically says they were lovers.
Yeah, it just says it was a cover for their alternative lifestyles. Then he shows the Fox sisters, that I just lose my goddamn mind. And he says, oh, the Fox sisters are among the founders of Lilydale. Kate Fox, she was quite troubled, apparently, but mesmerizing on stage, said to be able to levitate objects and foretell one's death. And then Dean's just like, oh, that's the bitch we saw. And they're like, yeah, that's her. And then, like, the museum guide or butler, where the fuck he is, he was just like, oh, the older sister, Margaret, perhaps not a natural psychic. And then they're just like, oh, they both lived and they died there and they're buried in the cemetery. And no, that's not true. It's not true. So we have to go to lore because I have to Hermione some shit for you guys. All right, so before we get like right into Lilydale, so the Fox sisters, which is kind of like one of the running things of this episode, right? That we're looking for the Fox sisters are coming out. So the Fox sisters are not from Lilydale, but I know like the name probably sounds familiar because we have talked about them before. So they are often credited as starting the spiritualist movement, but they're just kind of like the earliest things, right? And so in 1848, in the town of Hydesville, New York, which is near Rochester, which is not where Lilydale is. Rochester is another part of upstate New York. All of upstate New York is boring, so it just doesn't matter. But so I have been to Rochester, New York, and this town is fucking dull as shit. So because it's dull as shit, the Fox sisters, for the two that we're mainly talking about, are Maggie and Kate in this episode. They said that, basically they become haunted and ghosts, like they're the first people that had like ghosts rapping in their walls, be it things that people came to see. Right, I guess it's like the TLDR. So they get famous, and there's two of them, and they have a third sister, it's Leah, right? So there's three sisters. There's Maggie, Kate, and Leah. They don't die in Lilydale at all. They all die just depressing as fuck deaths. So, like, Kate dies from drinking in 1892, and then Maggie died a year later in 1893, and then both of those and their sister Leah were buried in Brooklyn, not Lilydale. But in 1915, they had the cottage, I mean the people of the Lilydale Assembly had the cottage that the Fox sisters grew up in Hydesville, New York, disassembled and brought to Lilydale.
What?
Yeah. So they had these cottage. So if you could drive from Hydesville to Lilydale in about 2.5 hours. But in 1915, you probably couldn't do that.
Reasonable.
So they disassembled it. They reassembled this cottage. Everyone's like, this is where spiritualism started. But so when those girls died, and they were women when they died, but before that, they were like, oh no, we faked all of this shit. But at the same time, the spiritualists of Lilydale were like, we love them. Let's bring their cottage here. So the cottage gets disassembled from Rochester, gets brought over to Lilydale. But then in 1955, it burns the fuck down. So that's the Fox sisters in Lilydale. They never actually lived there. They had their cottage moved, whatever. So, all right. So let's talk about fucking Lilydale, because Lilydale is real. As much as I said that, so Lilydale is on Cassadaga Lake, which is an hour southwest of Buffalo, meaning I will never have any reason to actually be in this area. Nobody has any reason to be in this area. But it was incorporated in 1879 as the Cassadaga Lake Free Association, a camp and meeting place for spiritualists and free thinkers, which are basically badass people who are fuck the government, in God and stuff. Like, people I like. But anyway, so these people like go and they're like, we need a place to like hang out every summer. And this basically becomes Lilydale. It goes from the Cassadaga Lake Free Association to the City of Light in 1903. And then it finally becomes the Lilydale Assembly in 1906. And every summer, the Lilydale Assembly is open basically for a gathering of mediums and psychics. And there have been various accountings of the numbers of how people come through, but it's in the tens of thousands per year. So anywhere from like this year, like 20,000 and 200, whatever summer year it's at, right? I'm sure that varies based on like if COVID or whatever. But but to really get an idea about this, so this like started in like the mid 1800s and late 1800s. Like I think we should listen to a 1900 TripAdvisor review. Okay, it's not TripAdvisor, but it was a Cassadaga newspaper, and it was by E.F. Rugg. I don't know if E was Ernest or Eleanor, but this is what I feel like their TripAdvisor would say, but this was actually the newspaper. So, I am inclined to believe that on our first visit to this beautiful, cozy nook in the midst of lake and dales will be ever memorable. I don't know why she has that sound, but she just does, or he does, or whatever. There's no gender here. I have been taught from infancy that spiritualists were composed of long-haired men and short-haired women who wore a number 7 shoe and carried the marks of imbecility in their countenance, with cloven foot, 7 horns, and forked tongue, and all the adornments that embellish his Satan's majesty, pictured by Dante and St. John. I would like to note that they called them Satan's majesty in their writing, and Satins, which is, I believe, how Satan used to be referred to, or shiny fabric. But what was our surprise on stepping from the train at Lilydale to be met by at least 200 of the brightest, most intelligent, fairest-looking, best-dressed people of the United States.
Wow.
I know. So according to the newspaper from this town, when you get off the train platform, everybody is fucking hot. So come to Lilydale.
Fashionable Lilydale.
Fashionable Lilydale. This, though, I think is very interesting because some of this is continuous. So, inside of the ground today are about 300 cottages. 300. It's a lot. 2 hotels, a library, and a reading room, a spacious auditorium, bandstand, billiard hall, bowling alley. We also found speakers engaged with the seasoned, polished orators, bright and witty, divided on some question, ever alert, very aggressive when the truth and sincerity were questioned, having at the heart the welfare and spiritual upbuilding of all they come in contact. So, remember how in this episode, Dean's walking through town and he's going through all these signs that like talk about. Uh-huh. Okay, so this is from the 1900 TripAdvisor review. Strolling about the ground, one is confronted by numerous signs before the doors, such as Bang Sisters, Phenomenal Mediums, Spirit Portraits, a Speciality, Campbell Brothers, Celebrated Psychics, Slate Writing, Spirit Portraits, Clairvoyants and Seances, Other Palmists, Astrologers, Test Mediums, Transit Healing Mediums, Technical Healers, etc. So even in 1900, when you walk through this town, like there were just like all of, like the mediums and shit had signs like, so it was like I almost everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere, right? And so this then goes on to talk about the art gallery of the Bangs Sisters. Oh shit, that's not their actual name. All right, and so the Bangs Sisters and the Campbell Brothers are simply beautiful beyond description. The art of these mediums introducing spirit portraits is phenomenal. One sits with the portraits of the deceased friend in their pocket, and within 30 minutes the pictures is transformed on canvas before their eyes. First comes the outline, then gradually the picture develops. If you say the eyes are too light, they will change to the required color. The Banks sisters told the writer that under certain conditions they could get a spirit portrait of a person in spirit life that never had a likeness taken, by the sitter holding the looks of their friend in their mind. However, the imagination must apply much to make a natural picture. Also, when sitting for their own picture, will have 3 to 14 spirit friends on the background of a photo.
Huh.
So the Campbell brothers that were brought up in this episode, the ones who said, we're not brothers, they just were fucking. So they were actually, they were known. They were not related. I don't know if they were fucking, but they, spirit portraits is one of the things they did, as were the Bang sisters. And pretty much the basic idea is like you would sit there and you'd have a seance and you'd be thinking of like your friend. And then like the person would just start to appear on the painting. And that's fucking awesome. And so they're like, yeah, whatever was just proven, like they're already paid and like whatever. It's fucking awesome. If you can make me sit there and like have a painting
and watch this happen, yeah.
Shut up and take my money, bitch. Like so. The Campbell brothers were real, so were also the Bang sisters. I'm just saying. So also, but letter writing and slate writing were also a phenomenon. So Lilydale used to have a bunch of physical mediums that were beyond just like the mentalist stuff, which is what you see more of this. I'm thinking of, but we're along the spoon bending lines of things that were happening, right? So that was what it was like in 1900. And based on what I've read and what I've seen, like not much of Lilydale has actually changed. So every summer, people still come to Lilydale for the assembly, and you go there to go meet with various mediums and the people who are coming through. Now, if you go there, you have to pay a gate fee to get into the assembly. Now, the gate fee varies. It starts at $15, but it can go down, like, let's say it starts at $15. Like, you can get a season pass, like, going to Six Flags.
Season pass?
There's season pass.
You get a fast pass to go to the front
I
line?
have not seen fast passes, but there are season passes. There's also, like, evening passes if you only want to go there at night and don't want to go there during the day, whatever. So, but your pass into the Lilydale Assembly includes the following. You get these daily activities. At 8:30 a.m., you get to go to meditation in the Healing Temple. 11:30 a.m., there is a welcome video in the Marion H. Skidmore Library, excluding Sundays. 1 p.m., you can get an Inspiration Stumps message service. 2:30 p.m., worship service in the auditorium. You get a Forest Temple message service at 4 p.m., except on Sundays. And at 5:30 p.m., you can get another Inspiration Stump message service. Weekly and bi-weekly activities include a Sunday auditorium service, thought exchange in the Octagon, and Healing Temple services. This also includes the attractions of the Lilydale Beach. Now, the Lilydale Beach is open 11 to 6 p.m. during season, and there is a qualified lifeguard on duty. That beach is a grassy sand mix, which offers picnic tables, restrooms, and plenty of parking. You also have access to the Leolin Woods, one of the most insignificant, unique old growth forests in the Northeast. It has thousands of year old trees, including hemlock, basswood, maples, red oaks, white pine, etc. You can read about the trees on the shepherd hooks in front of the trees. You can also go to Inspiration Stump. So that is found at the end of a quiet trail of the Leolin Woods. It's not unusual to become aware of the spiritual energies by an open and receptive state at the stump. I do believe the stump has been replaced by not an actual tree, but you would have to verify that. Mediums have been holding services at the stump after that was named after a sacred pine that once grew there. Okay. You also get to go to the fairy trail, and so there are people who are certified fairyologists. I want to do this for my next degree. You also get access to the labyrinth, which was established and planted by the Fellowships of the Spirit in the fall of 1991 as a gift to the Lilydale Assembly members and guests. Some other frequent questions about Lilydale. Can you have booze and drugs? So the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages and illegal recreational drugs are not permitted on the grounds of Lilydale. However, regarding marijuana, it is now legal for adults 20 and older to possess up to 3 ounces of cannabis and up to 24 grams of concentrated cannabis for personal use in the New York state. So adults may smoke or vape the cannabis wherever this is allowed. And this also kind of goes down. But I think one of the most important things is, how does Lilydale preserve itself? Right. So Marion Skidmore, who was one of the prominent members of Lilydale, once said this. Remember this. Lilydale is and always will be a spiritual camp. Hold fast to this truth and say to those who inhabit something else, the world is wide, so go your way. We would have no new gods placed upon the altar. Spiritualism is enthroned in this camp, and outside issues must be kept to their own realm. Guests to be entertained, but not allowed to monopolize or overthrow the camp. So what does that mean? Would you like to own a home in Lilydale?
Are you allowed to buy it as an outsider?
You can only buy a house in Lilydale if you're in good standing of the Lilydale Assembly. And so to become a member, you have to follow their processes, which including being a good standing of a recognized spiritualist church for 1 year prior to applying membership in the Lilydale Assembly. You have to have a copy of your current church card. You have to have an application through the Lilydale Assembly office. You have to have this filled out. You have to pay all your fees. You have to do all these things. And then you have to talk to the Lily Board directors and the Assembly Board for the questions regarding your acceptance. But if you do, there are a number of properties for sale in Lilydale. And I'm just going to start with, I'm only going to say one because there's a number of them, and I told you this is long. So we're going to talk about one, and this gives you an idea of maybe you want to become a spiritualist and in good faith and good founding of Lilydale. So if you wanted to get the first house, 17th South Street, it's 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,500 square foot with all new siding, all new windows, new roofs, plumbing, heating, etc. All of the works. There's a new master bedroom with a full bath and 2 other bedrooms. There's granite counters and stainless steel appliances. It's $140,000.
What?
That's the comp. That is the fucking comp.
Ooh. All right, then.
There is a number of their house. You can go to the Lilydale site and go do your own haunted realty moment. But these are all, like I said, they're legitimately the houses that have been a part of Lilydale forever. Like, this is like a place, and I'm not, I went quickly through this, but I really do. I love Lilydale is a town that's mainly run by women. It was like the free thinkers and all the people that founded Lilydale were suffragettes. They're abolitionists. They're just really nice people. And right now it's like what happens there is there's a bunch of mediums. Take that as you will. There's a bunch of psychics who like own the houses there. And then once the summer, things get opened up and other psychics and mediums from across the country come there and people come hang out and they talk to ghosts in the woods. And you can't buy the property unless you want to say, hey, I want to come hang out and talk to ghosts in the woods. And it's kind of cool.
And I'm a card carrying spiritualist.
There's a whole bunch of shit that goes into it. I don't know. Like, it just seems like a very nice place to go hang out. And you can go to the current TripAdvisor. And yes, there are lots of things that say like this is a bunch of scams. And they're, like, so every summer, like, I'm showing Diana, like, there's the Lilydale Visitors Guide. And within it talks like all the mediums that are licensed and registered to be in the town. To be a medium who's working in the town, you actually have to go through like a mediumship test where they go to see what you're going through. And there's so much that can be gone into about this town. It's just this very weird anomaly that exists. There's a few other spiritualist camps that exist in like there are other Casadega in Florida, some other ones. It's just a really cool place that's in the middle of fucking nowhere, which means I will never. I don't say I'll never. Someday I will get there. But so within this, there's two things I want to finish on. One, if you go to the every year, Lily Dale publishes like their program for the events they have over the summer, and we're ending the summer. August, at the beginning of August, they always do a Women's Day festival because, like I said, this was the town. Susan B. Anthony used to go hang out there. Like this was her jam. Like Susan B. Anthony like led balls through like balls, but like they would have balls like where they would go dancing, and like Susan B. Anthony was like the cool chick that was like hanging out. Like when they didn't have dance floors, somebody built what they called the lily pad. And they built like rafts so people could go dance on. So they had like floating dance halls, which I just think is the coolest fucking shit ever. Like I really want to do that. So somebody who wrote the Lily's Day Visitor Guide did like one of my jobs, and they wrote in this book, what is the fucking number? Like I don't understand why they did this. There's trivia questions in the visitor's guide. Most of them are not answered in the visitor's guide, but they wrote 165 questions in
wow.
here. So before we get to that, I do want to say, like, so in the program guide for each year for Lilydale, they publish their mediums. And one of their mediums they fell in love with was Dr. Janice L. Dreschman, because she has a therapy dog named Sir Tibbetts Wick. And he was like the number one therapy dog in the U.S. And like they have like video of him hanging out in the salt cave. Totally gonna link to that. Just we don't have time to go into it, but it's really cool. But in spirit of Lilydale, to end out this very long week's of lore, Diana, pick a number through 1 and 165, and we're gonna ask the trivia question that was in there, and I just want to see what it is.
Well, in honor of this episode, we're gonna go with 77.
All right, so question 77. Which American newspaper editor, publisher, and candidate for the U.S. presidency who famously said, "Go west, young man, and grow up with the country," was convinced of the honesty of the Fox sisters and furnished funds for the completion of their education? I can guess. Can you guess?
Yeah.
Oh, I was wrong. Okay, so what's your guess?
Oh, now I'm going to question it. I was going to say Teddy.
Yeah, I went with Teddy Roosevelt too, but apparently it was Horace Greeley, but whatever. Okay.
Oh, they said candidate. They didn't say president, right?
Yeah, so, but spiritualist candidate Horace Greeley. Fuck yeah.
Greeley.
So,
I've heard of him.
Basically, like, this is a town full of, like, anarchists and rebels and women, and just think it's fun. And it's an adorable town, and it makes me happy that there is a place like this that exists. And also Sir Tibbetts Wick, the therapy dog of the Salt Cave, it like made my fucking day. That was all I needed. So, okay, I told Diana, I warned you it was going to be long.
You did. Yeah, it's fun. All right, and there's a therapy dog. I mean, come on now, makes everything better, right?
He's
all
so
right,
cute.
so. Back at the museum, the Lilydale Museum of Curiosities, as Sam and Dean are getting ready to leave, our docent, or whatever we want to call him.
I said, I just want to call him a butler, because he looks like a butler.
Well, he grabs Dean by the arm as Sam walks out and says, "I don't normally do this during business hours." And you're like, "Wait, what? What are you doing, sir?" But he's like, "But do you know Eleanor or Ellen?" Ooh. She's very concerned about you and said, if you don't tell someone how bad it really is, she'll kick your ass from beyond. You have to trust someone again eventually.
Don't forget to visit the gift shop. But also, like, I mean, this is the kind of mediumship that I think we need to see more of. Like, in every, like if you're going to have a mediumship show, like whatever they
ship show.
But yeah, it should be like this person says they're going to kick your ass, but also we're just like, damn, Ellen, she's coming through, and she's pissed.
Well, so Dean goes outside. Sam's like, he's like, let's go dig up this fucking grave, burn these bones, so we're done with this fucking case. I'm done. And Dean tries to like, no, let's actually talk about things. And Sam's like, no, that's not what we agreed to. We agreed we were just gonna work the goddamn case. And then he's like kind of trying to talk, but not. It's just really like worked around. And Sam's like, no, we're going to work the case, but you lied and you killed my friend. And Dean's like, look, I put down a monster who killed 4 people. If you didn't know her, you would have done the same thing. And tries to talk about how like, oh, sometimes things are, dangerous and blah, 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 blah. But Sam is pissed. He wants no bit of this. He's like, if it feels wrong, it normally is. And that's all there is to it. But Dean still is like, look, it didn't feel wrong. I just did your dirty work, and I understand why you couldn't do it. And I would have told you one way or another eventually. It just, maybe after you were done, like waving a gun at Satan.
And he basically tells him, he literally tells him to stop being a bitch. And you were so wrong, Dean. And like, and as Sam kind of will get to some of this like later in this episode, but like I don't get like Dean, you do not get to be on a high horse here. Like you should be like groveling his fucking ass because you killed him.
Well, it's not just because you killed Amy, because I can see Dean's justification by what their mission is in killing Amy. Right? I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying, but I can see in Dean's mind that justification. The thing that I think is unjustified at all about this situation is that Sam clearly put his trust in Dean. It was a very big deal that they talked about trust extensively. And Dean assured Sam that he trusted him and then lied to him about it. I think that's the bigger issue. Amy, sad. Don't get me wrong. It's sad, but that's a dilemma that they can argue out in their gray area of weird morality in their murder world of monsters. And
we can all argue about it, but it is like he violated the trust. He lied to him, and I think this will come back again. But it's still just, it's just annoying. Like I feel like Dean's taking a high road he shouldn't be riding. Like he doesn't deserve to get your ride to that, anyways. No. But then we get to Sam digging a grave, like their boys do. Oh yeah,
digging up graves.
Dig that grave, Sam. Ooh, and you just watch him, Sam. I mean Dean, yeah.
Yeah, Dean just watches him. But they do have a good point. This is where they're like, but why is this ghost giving them the vision? Because they're digging up Kate. Because Kate was the one who was supposedly could foretell death and was the actual medium, and Margaret did not have any actual skills. So they're digging up Kate. And while they're digging up Kate's bones, we get an appearance by Ghost Kate. And she's mad. She shoves Sam to get him to stop while he's dumping lighter fluid and salt on the bones. And she says, yelling, why isn't anybody listening to me? And then they burn her bones and they don't get to hear what she wanted to say. Which seems stupid.
Well, part of it is like this is why I think, like I said, Dean doesn't get to ride a high horse is because he's ignoring Sam, who is like pointing out that we may be moving too fast. Something is going wrong. Then even the ghost is like, bitch, slow down. Like, why wouldn't you listen to me? And the fact that Dean says to her, you don't get a vote when suffragette, like, that was such a big part of Lilydale. Like, he doesn't even know. Like it's a double burn that he doesn't even understand. Because if the Fox sisters really did live in Lilydale at the time, they would have been like, give women the vote. Because that's why Susan B. Anthony was there, right?
I didn't know we'd get a suffragette tie into them burning.
But you did.
But, cool.
You're like, but somehow, like you brought but like now that you know the history of Lilydale, you're like, okay, that makes sense.
So Melanie and Camille are at a restaurant because they're like,
also like, what was up with her teeth? Like her teeth were like
kind of glowy yellow,
were fucked up. Like that's just mean.
They were like glowing yellow. It was very weird.
It's gross.
So Melanie and Camille are at a restaurant waiting to hear from Sam and Dean. And Sam and Dean are like, hey, we took care of it. You're all good. You're safe, Camille. And they're like, hell yeah. Well, I think I'm going to stay at Melanie's anyways for a few days because I'm kind of freaked out about my place.
We're not going to stick around and find out. We're just going to leave town like we do. We just assume everything is fine because we burned these bones. Bye.
And but apparently it got real late because Melanie and Camille are packing up at Camille's at like almost 2 a.m. The clock strikes 2, and she sees the vision again, and the fire flares up, and the lights flicker, and she yells for Melanie to call Sam and Dean because it's still fucking happening.
Yeah, my notes say, I'm so mad at how dumb this is and how dumb they are.
It is stupid. It's all stupid. From the time they got to the cemetery on is stupid for a bit. That's just all there is to it. So Sam has Melanie go get a bunch of salt.
Well, he takes the phone and becomes crisis manager, which is hot. I appreciate that. So, but Jensen Ackles did have the suggestion that the salt that was used in this scene be bottled into jars with labels and then sold at charity for auction, which it was.
Oh, that's cool. Well, she gets the salt and is able to like fling it on the ghost, which makes it dissipate. I will say this is about the part in the episode where Diana jumps a lot because we get a lot of like surprise ghost face.
I guess so. Yeah.
Startled ghost.
I don't know. I don't feel like the ghost is scary. I feel like the ghosts are
it's getting startled.
I don't even think there's jump scares. I think it's just like it's like this weird like I don't know. Go on.
I wrote them down. So that was number one. One jump scare for Diana. And so, but now the ghost keeps coming back, obviously, and now they're out of salt. So that's not good. So now we've got Melanie and Camille back to back. One of them has the poker from the fire. This is just stupid. This is all stupid.
It's all stupid. I don't like any of this. Okay. So
a sideboard gets flung across the wall to pin Melanie and knock her out while the ghost kills Camille. And Sam and Dean arrive too late. That's what happens. It's terrible.
Oh yeah, I didn't even bother going that much. I was just like, find Ire, get a poker, get hit by a dresser, die by a ghost. The guys pull in and Melanie is crying. That's how I describe the scene. All right, so the next day, like, this is also stupid. Dean realizes that Kate was trying to warn everybody about her sister. And then Melanie comes down from the shower because they were just there while she was... What?
Well, she was probably like panicking. She was probably upset after watching her friend die.
But she wanted to take a shower while they were there? Like...
I mean, yeah.
Okay. Fine.
I can see that.
Okay, whatever. But now, like, she wants them to leave.
But now she's like, yeah, I thought while I was in the shower, I thought about this, and I want you all the fuck out because you fucked this whole thing up. Because you should have listened to Ghost Kate, but that Ghost Margaret was a bitch.
Yeah, but I also, like, now I want you, while you're in your robe, can you please go over all the traumatic things that just happened to you? Tell me all the things from your attack.
Yeah. So they decide, Sam and Dean go to the cemetery to dig up Margaret now because they're like, well, fuck, we've got one set of bones.
Because when they asked her that, she was like, look, they were all about Camille. And I really think that she liked it. Like, she was smiling. And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess we have to go back out to the graveyard.
Yeah. So they start digging up Margaret's grave, which is weird during the daylight. I will also point out that both times they are in this cemetery, in this supposedly very spiritualist town with all these psychics and things, there are 0 people hanging out in the cemetery, which I think was...
Oh, no, everybody in that town is always hanging out in the cemetery. They also have a pet cemetery that just looks very cute. That's all for all the things. But also, like, they don't notice that this grave had recently been dug up. Because, like, as a grave, like, if she really was, like, Maggie Fox and from the 1800s, like, that ground would be very different from something that somebody was just dug up from. Just saying. Well,
I don't know if they should have noticed that, but I don't know if they'd gotten that far in what was happening yet. But either way, this casket's empty.
No. I'm just saying the ground. Like, the ground is... Oh, yeah,
they should have noticed
the ground is fucking different if it's been, like, sat there for, like, 200 years as opposed to the ground that's been dug up. Like, if I go into the potted plant outside, like, 2 days later, I can't get into it. So...
Yeah. Well, either way, so they should have noticed, but either they didn't, and now they know that this is some binding magic, a psychic ghost bitch on a leash, and now they got to figure out who has the fucking bones. So now they've just realized that all of the headliners of the Psychic Festival have died. They just now realized this.
Mind blown.
Like, what the fuck?
That poster that was brought up at the beginning of the episode.
That I was tracking that from the second they showed it. I'm like, oh shit, one of them's dead. That means all three of them are gonna die. But anyways, so poor Melanie. They're like, all right, so
who would be taking?
Who's supposed to be next? Who would be next? Because we got all three of those. And then Camille, who's next? Weird. Sam's gonna go back to the Emporium and ask good old Jimmy, who would have recently bought an Ashwood altar.
But also that Sam says, like, because they wouldn't just sell those at the gas and sit. But this is fucking Lilydale, Sam. Like, I'm damn right they'd be selling Ashwood altar things at fucking gas and sit. It's fucking Lilydale. But Jimmy is like, here's a receipt and address.
Here's a credit card receipt and an address. That was quick, but okay.
So nice of you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. But and over at Melanie's, Dean's made a salt circle around her and said, like, hey, you just need to, like, stay right here until we find the rest of these bones. And he asked an interesting question. She asked him an interesting question. She asked if it hurts the ghosts when you burn their bones. And Dean replies, probably. And she says, good. That was funny.
And it also is a thing that is noted as this is the first time this is brought up within Supernatural canon, right? Like, what happens, like, if I burn a ghost, like, does it hurt them?
Well, Sam's on the mission. He pulls up to a house. He's got bus in the door, gun drawn, and it's Nikolai's partner that thought that they were murderers at the beginning. And she is surrounded by. She has like one of those resonance bowls.
She has a sound bowl.
Surrounded.
I'm like, I go to a lot of yoga. Like, she's doing a sound bowl meditation, and it's Lamaze.
It's a Lamaze class. So yeah. Not a necromancer.
Maybe. But like at this pregnancy thing that could be not be, I don't know if it's necromancer. But at the other place, the ghost is just peeping through the window. She's just like, hey.
And that was another, and I jumped there too.
You jumped with real. Like, oh, I guess it's just like, if I looked outside right now and there was a weird old lady peeping through my window, I would probably jump too. I'm looking closely to make sure there's old lady.
Well, so now we know that Jimmy, the Emporium shop guy, goose chased Sam. So now we know super sus. That's what he says. When Sam says it. That's what he says. I was amused. So now he's the super sus one. So Sam goes back to the Emporium. Of course, they're closed, but apparently Jimmy puts his personal home address on his business card, which is on the same block, which is just all weird. So Sam goes there and breaks in there instead, and it's just this weird.
I mean, like, small town, like, also, like, okay, yeah, of course, a guy like is above him, but like, so he busts in, he finds some bones,
and he finds the skull. But Jimmy puts a gun to Sam's neck, but Sam's way better with guns and is able to take it from him.
He's a skull swap. Swap.
Well, either way, we can kind of do a back and forth thing for a while here where we show Dean and Melanie are still standing in the salt circle watching for the ghost as their windows start breaking. And Sam's going to have a back and forth with good old Jimmy. And he's like, oh, let's talk about your binding spell. Well, and then Jimmy's like, well, I don't really need a spell because she helps because she wants to. And then back at the house, Dean has a shotgun and tells Melanie to get more salt. But somehow, because the wind blew, the ghost is already inside the circle. So this is not good at the house.
It's never good. I think we need to rethink the salt circle. Like, this keeps happening.
It hasn't worked very well.
No.
Either way, Jimmy is like, look, me and Margaret are the same. We're both the real thing, is what it is. And sometimes the real thing isn't the prettiest or the most entertaining. So that's what this is all about. So this is where Jimmy's monologue tells us what this whole thing was all about. While Ghost Margaret is still fighting with Melanie and Dean back at the house. So Jimmy has revealed that basically him and Margaret were the ones that weren't the showmen. They weren't the ones that were like great on stage, but they were actually mediums. And so this is their fucking revenge on the people that were actually performers.
Yeah. So basically, Jimmy's not cute, and he was a runner-up of the talent show, and he's very pissed off. I will say that Maggie, the actual Maggie Fox, Margaret Fox, was a catch. So fuck off, Jimmy. And
yeah, but he's like, but now basically Jimmy's broke, and even though he's got the giant emporium, so he's bitter. And anyway, so we've got the fight still going on at the house, but Sam's like, where are the rest of these bones, by the way? All I've got is the skull. And we figure out through body language that the rest of Margaret's bones are in Jimmy's bedroom. Which is a choice.
Yeah, he was fucking her bones.
It's a choice.
He was fucking. He was fucking the bones. But also, while this is happening, like Dean is like doing some like chain fighting.
He ran out of shotgun shells, so he's like, it's so ridiculous.
Very much like battle robes. Like he's doing battle robes, but with chains.
Yeah, and Jimmy tries to shoot Sam. Misses. So Sam takes the pistol, or gets a pistol and shoots Jimmy twice, and he did.
Yeah, well, at the point, like, Margaret was just, like, choking out Melanie. But then also Sam just burns down Lilydale. Because I'm pretty sure,
much.
like...
So he collects all the bones on the bed. They are in the bed. They're not just in his bedroom. This is where we learned the bones are not just in Jimmy's bedroom.
No,
he's
fucking
the...
I told you he was fucking the bones. That's what he's doing. He's fucking bones.
Oh, and then right at the last second, right when Mel is about to, I say Mel because my notes were, sorry, I went over my shirt. It's Melanie.
When she's about to choke out. Of running at Melanie.
So right when she's about to be choked out by Ghost Margaret, Sam's able to light the bones on fire, and Margaret burns up.
Yeah. So, but it was just like, you lit a bed on fire in this like Victorian like apartment next to like, you just burned down fucking Lilydale, New York. Like that is exactly like that's what happened to the Fox sisters' place in the first place. But anyways, so we cut from that back to our cafe and our affirmative waiter, who is just trying to get through his pieces of flair. Dean, he's just trying to do his job.
He is, but he's able to get coffee without an affirmation, and he's pretty happy about that.
Well, because he threatens to punch the waiter in his face if he gives him an affirmation.
No, that's
You're like, yeah, he needed to get an affirmation with his coffee. He was happy.
Well, Melanie wants to come say hi and bye to Dean, so Sam steps out to give them some privacy. And basically, she's like, "Thanks for coming to save my life and kill a ghost. Appreciate it. Y'all seem a little bit better now, but I know you're never going to come back to this town, so goodbye."
And it's this weird thing. Like, so they have this I wish it could have been thing, but there was never a thing. There was never any sexual tension between them. Like, it just like kind of gets bye.
It was kind of teased that there almost was, but it never even there wasn't even the tension. It was very weird.
It's very weird. I don't get it. Whatever. So bye, Melanie.
So outside, Dean goes out and sees Sam puts some of his things in the trunk of the Dodge. So I guess that means they're leaving together. And so Dean just asks, "So you still want to break my face?"
Sam, this is the grudge you hold. This is the grudge you hold. But Dean's just...
But he does. But Sam does answer. He's like, "Not at this moment, but you were right about Amy. I get why, but you can't look me in the face and lie to me like that. And tell me, and you can't tell me that you're fine when you're not sleeping and you're drinking like that." So
Dean just like points out that drinking, etc., like that's what made him like guilty, and it was just kind of like, I don't know. I think Dean's being a fucking psychopath. Is what Dean is being. He's being a goddamn psychopath.
I think he opens up a little bit. He's like, "Look, I went with my gut, but I am having a hard time trusting after what happened with Castiel, because and I was acting that way because I don't like lying to you, and that was the only thing I couldn't sleep, and because I was holding this lie in.
But that's why
I think that was progress.
He says like I don't know. It's the whole excuse that I was drinking because I don't like lying to you, but I didn't feel bad about killing Amy. And if you don't feel bad about killing Amy, you're a fucking psychopath.
I don't think so in their line of work. I disagree.
She was a goddamn mom. Like, I don't know. Like, the fact that he can ignore this entire, like, faction of that he killed a human being and her, like, it was
but
a
it's
mom.
Not a human being.
Okay, yeah.
That's the part. That's the thing. That's in his head. It is not a human being.
No.
That's the difference.
And
that's why it's justifiable. Like we have, like you and I I agree with you. Yeah. I have issue with like when they kill like our vampires that we like or whatever, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Characters. Yeah. But in their rationalization that they have to deal with because they kill a lot of motherfuckers is that's not human.
But yeah, I guess it's also he's othering, right? He others Amy, and I don't feel like Amy should be othered. Like, I feel like Amy should be included and not, like, you should feel guilty for killing her. And the fact that he's able to put that beside, like, is, I don't know, like, that's disturbing to me. And, like, that's why, like, at this point, I feel weird that Sam is able to put this aside. But I also get that sometimes you have to put that shit aside because you have to ride or die with your brother. Anyways.
Well, either way. So there we go. But Sam just still wants to know who bent his fucking spoon.
And Dean just says, forget it, Sam. It's Lilydale. And they drive off as boo-boo chimes. So can we boo-boo chime our way into curtain call?
We can. Time for our casting couch.
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
All right, so we'll start off with Melanie, played by Dorian Brown Pham. She's been in single episodes of Charmed, NCIS, 2.5 Men, 911. She was also a regular character on the TV show Wilfred. That was the show with Elijah Wood as the dog. It was very bizarre. As Kristen Newman.
I really hate that show.
I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was so weird. And then Jimmy Tomorrow was played by Johnny Sneed. You may have seen him in single episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger, the old one. Friends, ER, Charmed, NCIS, CSI, House, My Name is Earl, Justified, and Bones, and more. He's been in several movies. Interestingly, he's been in a few rom-coms like Fever Pitch. He was Chris. That's the one with Drew Barrymore. In Ben Stiller's movie The Heartbreak Kid, he was Cal. He was Dr. Tim Cooper in Painkiller, which is a current-ish Netflix miniseries about the opioid crisis, and also was William Barnes in Parks and Rec, which is a reoccurring character. Sister Thibodeau, aka Camille, was played by Rukia Bernard. She was in a single episode of The Magicians. She had a bit part in Tooth Fairy. Did the rounds on the Hallmark Christmas movies. She's a bit part also in The Cabin in the Woods. And then was a regular character named Doc in the Van Helsing series. Valentine Samuels in the Nancy Drew series. And most recently, Simone Ibarra in the Yellow Jacket series. Our favorite Russian, Nikolai Lishin, is played by Dmitry Chepovetsky. Sure. He was in a few episodes of X-Files. He was the Robin Williams movie Man of the Year. He played Eckhart. He was a surveillance tech in the movie Red, and then was a Russian sub-ensign in the Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol movie. Our police chief, Bomberg, was played by Dan Wilmot. He was, most importantly, Mr. George in Mean Girls. And then he has been a couple episodes of Fargo. He's done several Hallmark Christmas movies and single episodes of General Hospital, Smallville, Umbrella Academy, and American Gods.
Ooh.
There we go. That's what we got.
So, what'd you think?
It was a very fun episode. I mean, like, the dynamic between the boys is meh, but at the same time, it was just super fun having the thematic of the things that the mediums used killing them was just really well written. Very enjoyable. It was kind of annoying though that they didn't it was like almost too silly that the main characters, they're like the experts in this stuff, didn't figure out what the fuck was going on earlier. That was kind of annoying.
Yeah, I think there was some missed opportunities for sure. For sure. Thank you. I'm channeling my Muppet Janice, but I think there were a lot of opportunities, like having this set in Lilydale. They bring it back up in the very beginning of this, or like this was the last time we spoke to a real psychic? Was it Missouri? Was it Pamela? Yeah. And those were such great characters in the show, right? Like the show that we love psychics in general, like even just women. And I feel like they could have rode the Lilydale horse a little harder. I don't know. But I'm glad that Lilydale got brought up. I mean, it was like very overwhelmed because there's so many things about Lilydale that I wanted to talk about. That I was just like, we can't like. This is
that's a whole other podcast series probably.
There's a whole if you want to listen to there's Ghost Church by Jimmy Loftus, which mainly focuses on the Cassadaga, not the Cassadaga Lake, but the Cassadaga, Florida Spiritualist Church, which is like the Florida version of Lilydale. Okay. But it just I don't know, I think that I have such a strong connection to this place that I want to go to at some point, that ever since I learned the word spiritualist, I was just like, this place sounds so cool. I mean, just like the place where people hang out in the woods and talk to dead people. Like, that's just a cool place. And I feel like they could have gone a little further with it, but I still feel like they did it was okay what they did to the town. Like, it wasn't. Yeah. I don't feel like they disrespected what was happening. Like, I thought it was a cute episode.
I agree.
It felt like a kind of almost like a Hallmark episode version, you know? Like,
I can see that. Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. So.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. So if you haven't watched the Muppets thing on, wow, I'm promoting Disney Plus.
Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem.
Yeah.
On Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
We've watched a few. I haven't watched enough of it yet.
Yeah, but there's a cult dedicated to Janice that are the first Shurlians. And I feel like we can worship them. But for sure. Okay. For sure. Let's cheers, Dirk.
Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Get It production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.